Hi everyone. Welcome to the UI UX session about the I'm going to do it right now. So in here, we're going to discuss what is UI and UX and how it will be related to our ITP module. So let me introduce myself first. I'm Samudith Tharindaka and I'm currently third year student and I'm currently following software engineering as my specialization. Also, I'm currently working as an intern at IFS. That's about me then. So let's discuss what is UI UX. Yeah, in here, I'm going to discuss what is UI and UX. So what is UI? UI is the things that are seen, and the UX is how we experience things. In this image, you can see there is a sauce bottle in the image number 1. It's looking nice, but you can see that the guy in the number 2 second image is not having a better experience with this sauce bottle. Why is that? Even though the UI of this sauce bottle is good and nice, it has not given a better user experience to this guy. So let's have a look at this number 3. Here, the same source bottle is visible, and it's also having the same some kind of nice UI, but it has given a better user experience to the user. That's why he's happy and being able to get the source out of it very easily in the number 4 of the image. So basically what I want to tell you guys is that in order to have a better design, we need this both UI and UX. Even though we have a better UI and it's a nice and very attractive, if it's not giving better user experience to the user, that will not be a good design or a nice one. So in order to have a better design, we need to have this both UI and UX in a similar way. So let's move into the next slide. So sorry. Oh, bad, my bad. Why we need the design and prototype? As Janukshan said earlier, ITP module is some kind of different one because it's the place where you guys gonna uh, make a system that is a real world project. So in here, when you go to design, you will need to have a plan first. So in order to have a clear plan, we need this prototype. So in here, I had some images for you guys. In here, it's our project that we did for our semester. It's a TS state management system. So when we doing that, we had 8 members for each team. So we divide each column for each member. So we categorize our functionalities for each others, and we design the user UIs for each functionalities in this Figma. So likewise, when we having this kind of clear plan, it's really easy to make things done very easily. So in order to have a clear plan, we need this prototype first. And also having a prototype first will save our time. Let's say like this, when we're making a system, it's really hard to redo a code. Like when you finish the work and understand that you need to change it, you have to redo that coding part. It's very time taking. So, but if you have a plan and do not need to, if you have a plan and the design first, you don't have to redo that part. That's why we need this prototype and the design first. Also, when you're having design first, like I showed you before, you can understand what the functionalities you're going to implement and what things that you're going to have at the end. Also, you know the functionalities of your each members. Like if you have 5 members per one team, you know the functionalities of each member. So your communication within the team will be very clear. So that's why we need this prototype and the design first. So let's get into the what the key topic that I'm gonna discuss today. First, I'm gonna discuss what is prototyping and wireframe, an understanding of the typography, and also the colors. As number 4, I'm gonna discuss the how to we follow a theme for a design, and also at the end we're gonna discuss some theories and the tips that will come in handy when you do designing. So moving into the next slide, what is prototyping and wireframe? Let's have a brief idea of this wireframe first. Wireframe is like a skeleton of a design. It's only contain lines and symbols of the each components. It's just symbolize the system that you're gonna implement first. But in the prototyping, it's kind of like a simulation of your real life project. This prototype will be the one that will be converted into the final product when you finalizing your project. So it's very crucial to have this prototype first because it will help you to have a clear and uh, clear idea of your product. So let's move into the tools that use for prototypes. So there are many tools currently in the world for doing prototypes. Among them, Figma, Adobe XD, and also there are some softwares like Sketch, InVisions, which are not much popular, but here in the currently the Figma is the most popular software for designing at the industry now. So I strongly recommend you guys to use Figma for this project because you can get a student version of this Figma, which will very helpful to you by using Split Student ID. I think you can apply it through Figma student developer kit. I think education package there is something called that. So just search for it and you will get it. So let's move into the next slide where we're gonna discuss about typography. So typography is not just about text, sentences, and words. It's also about the fonts and sizes. Uh, when discussing the fonts, let's have a look in this first image. Here the both sentences are giving the same idea, but with two different fonts. Uh, look at this first sentence here. Here it says, I will always find you. You will feel some kind of affection and love when you reading this sentence. Why is that? It's because of the font it's that used. This font is the it's the fonts that we mostly used in the places where we need to show show romance or some kind of affection to readers. So, but in the second image, you will feel some kind of horror because of this horror kind of font. So you can understand that font always matters when it comes to typography. And also, I have put this second image to give you a brief idea about fonts types. We have three main of fonts which call as serif, sans serif, and slab serif. In serif fonts, we have this small hooks at the end of the fonts, and the sans serif fonts we have a plain font, and the slab serif we also have this hooks but with 90-degree angles in every pair. So that's about the fonts. And also I want to mention you that typography will be really crucial also, because it's the thing that will tell the story to the reader. So make sure you use this typography very meaningful way. Also, in order to do that, I have some tips prepared for you. In here, tip number 1, never combine two similar fonts. What I mean is, never try to combine two similar fonts like serif, one font with serif type and other font is also with serif type. Never do that. It will make the design much messy and unclear. So also in the tip number 2, make the always try to use fewer fonts, like limit your number of fonts. Number 3, there it's okay to use like 3 or 4, like 4 number of fonts, but don't go too much. Limit it, just limit it. By having more fonts in one design will make it also unorganized and really hard to read because of the distractiveness. And tip number 3, you can see here in the first image, it's have a plain text like create a strong hierarchy to convey the message. And the second one is also create a strong hierarchy to convey the message. If you have a look at the both images, what you feel? First one or the second one will give you the best idea? Obviously the second one. Why is that? It's because hierarchy is highlighted in the second image, but in the first image it's not. So always try to use variety in your fonts. I mean the font sizes. By that you can have a hierarchy which will allow you to convey your message very clearly and strongly. Yeah. So in this image, we can compare some kind of some tips that I mentioned before. In the first one, there's the same there's the design with several kind of fonts, and they have used many fonts and many sizes, and you can see there is italic fonts, stuff like that. So because of that, the design is much unclear. When it comes to the second image, it's much clear and giving a professional kind of feeling. Why is that? It's because the let's see that the tips I mentioned are in here. There is no similar fonts being merged, and there's a hierarchy, and also there are only few kind of fonts has been used. Because of that, this second image is giving the better idea and a better clear view than the first one. And moving on to the next topic, and it's about color. So when it comes to the color, it's really crucial, because when you go into a website, the first thing you will see is the color. If the color is not good or it's distracting you, there's no use of this website or the system you're gonna implement. So when you're using colors, some people think having a many colors in one design will give a best design, but it's not true. Having much color in a one design will just distract you from the design. So in order to avoid this kind of problems, we have a rule called 60-30-10 rule. Here, what we discuss is we use 3 colors. One color we use 60% of the design, and the second color we use 30% of the design, and the other one has a 10% of the design. In this image, you can see this like light blue, light green color is used the 60%, and the dark green color is 30%, and the yellow is 10%. Likewise, let's analyze this further in these images. In diagram number 1, you can see there are two image, two designs. In the first one, there are many colors as used, but in the second one, it's only few colors. It will conclude the idea about 60-30-10 rule, because first one is bit kind of messy and unorganized, while the second one is giving you a clear feeling. So make sure to follow this rule in when you designing the website for you. And in the diagram number 2, you can see two images in the same way, but they are also in here. What I want to show you is how messy it will come when you using many colors. In this first image of the diagram number 2, you can see a clear view of the website. But in the second one, you can see there is much messy and very unorganized kind of design because of the colors. When you're going to create these colors, you will be distracted and it's very tough to you to read the content of this site. So always try to limit your colors, try to follow 60-30-10 rule, and have a clean and a professional design when you doing your ITP module for this semester. And how to make a website with consistent design. So what is this? How to make a website with consistent design? Here I want to tell you is in here in your ITP module, you're gonna have 5 member of team, and you're gonna design each member's part by themselves. So there will be a different kind of mismatch between them because they are thinking differently. So when we giving out when we finalizing our project at the end, we need to have a consistent design. Why? Because we need to have a professional and when a project that is good to standard. So in order to do that, we need to have a clear and consistent design with all of the member. So in order to do that, please try to follow the steps that I mentioned here. First of all, when you got the topic for your project, try to find inspiration for landing page, for dashboards, and everything. Go and find out the inspiration from the websites. There are many websites in the Google, so you can just go there and get the idea to your. And then try decide the color for your website. I mean here is uh, in order to follow the color rule that I mentioned before, you have to have color template. To get those template, you can follow like you can get those colors from the topic of your topic that you choose, because we have several kind of topics, and we can get the colors that are giving a idea that related to our topic. So make sure to tally those ideas with colors and the idea of the topic, and make the wireframe design. What I mentioned here is uh, each member will have different kind of functionalities. So to make those functionalities, they can have a Figma board as Figma design, as I mentioned you earlier, and make the wireframe for each functions. After that, you can go ahead and start design the components. Components are like tables, buttons, forms. Mostly in here in the image, I have shown you some components that we used when we designing our project. So you can use those components from if you're using Material UI, Ants UI, or some kind of component libraries. You can get those kind of components from them and use them in your Figma. By that, you can have a consistent design with all. So go ahead with start the component designing by just design one table, one font, and one form, and start prototype designing. And go ahead with populating your wireframe. Like use those table and buttons to make the prototype using those wireframes. In order by doing that, you will get a consistent design at the end. Yeah. So now we are gonna discuss some tips that will help you when designing. These things you just have to know, because when you know this, it will automatically come to your mind when you do the designing things. First let's analyze this image. Apart from these two images, what image you choose? You will choose at the. I think most of you will choose this second image. Even though the first image has clear and more detailed look with prices, location, dimension, bedrooms, and bathrooms, this second image gives those idea very quickly. If you can see here, they have used 60-30-10 rule with using purple, white, and this image. And also, they have used clear white space among those all text. And also, other than that, this instead of prices, locations, dimension, bedrooms, those texts, they have used these icons, which gives the idea very quickly to the human mind. We just need to have a quick look at it, so we will get the idea about these beds, bathrooms, and bedrooms stuff. So that's why this image is will be our go-to option. So make sure to use those tips, like use icons when you're designing, use free space, use hierarchy, use different kind of fonts, like this. And moving on to the next tip, where the border radius. Here, when we designing border radius, let's follow this rule. Like if the outer radius is 24 pixel, normally what we do is we just make inner radius as also 24 pixels. Instead of that, just try to have the different by subtracting the gap between inner and outer radius, we can get the inner radius. Like subtracting 10 pixels from 24 pixels, we can get 14 pixels as the inner radius. So that looking that way, we can get a professional designing at the end. And the use of spacing. I think as I mentioned before, using space is mainly help designer to give a very professional and a premium look to a design. If you can compare these two images, the first image is like much unorganized, and it's much unclear because of these all items are stacked together and there is no much space between them. But in the second image, these items are having a much giving us a clear view and clear design, because there is a space between these all items. So when we discuss in this spacing, I think when you go ahead and designing, just use paddings and margins. That how we normally place the spaces in the designing. So just go ahead and use spaces when you're designing. It will give a clear look to your project. Yeah, then the icons. As I mentioned before, icons will help you to reduce the number of text. If a design has many text in it, it will become very messy kind of thing. Like if even though we never read newspapers, right? Why? Because of those much text. So if we can reduce the number of text, we can attract the reader. That's why we should use icons when we designing. When using the icons, make sure to use icon packs instead of just using icons from the Google Images or flat icons or just what do you call that, free pick, vector easy stuff like that. Try to use icon websites that give icon packs. It will give you like icons with packs with 60 or 70 icons, but it will help you to have a consistent icon all over your website or your design. Uh, so it will help you to have a clean and a professional design at the end. So that's all about the designing part. The main thing you need to have is a clean and a professional design in this ITP module. So thank you all. I think you get something from this session.